pleasure to introduce to you the man of the hour, Tony.
Hello and welcome back to probably the most special episode of At the Gates. I am your host, World Series Tony. That's right. Coming to you from Globe Life Field in Arlington, Texas, where I believe it is the Tampa Bay Rays are hosting the Los Angeles Dodgers, at least tonight. The neutral site World Series is upon us, and it is strange. The place is already starting to bump a little bit, not nearly what you'd expect for a regular World Series, but still a lot of Dodger blue and a fair representation of some Tampa Aqua too. Got in just about an hour ago. Already at the stadium. It's about 2:15. And I'll go into it a little bit later, but it's been hectic to get down here, but I'm just glad that things are working out now. And before we get any further, I just have to thank the man himself, the best person that saved my day yesterday and saved me from the horror story that I will inform you about later. His name, Bobby. You know him as KB Cincy Reds. Sorry. Bobby KB Cincy Reds on Twitter. He is the man. He had an extra ticket, so I will be in left field and hopefully trying to get my hands on one of those commemorative 2020 World Series baseballs. I heard that the Rays are using them during BP, but unfortunately the Rays are the home team, so, don't really get to see them. But the bullpen is using them, so it sounds like Jean Carlos, who is in the bullpen out there as one of the coaches, one of the bullpen catchers or something, he warms up the outfield in between innings, and he has been very generous, and all of the ones that he throws are beautiful World Series balls. Dodgers aren't using those, like I said, but you know what? Just to get a couple on the board, just to finally actually put up some numbers at a World Series game. And not only is it my first World Series game, but it's my first game that I get to actually see from Globe Life Field. So it's so many firsts. It's so weird, strange. Feels like I don't even know. Like, it feels like we haven't had baseball for a year and a half, but I know that that's not true. It's more like a year, but it's been just extra long because, the baseball that we did get to have was not in attendance and waiting outside the gates, and really only, unless you got some lucky bounces at a different stadium other than Target Field, you're just going for toss-ups. You're just going for the balls that workers had that would roll them under the gates. And I got 24 of those this year, but this is finally real baseball. And it's the Fall Classic. So Game 4, the Dodgers are up 2-1. And I guess now is as good a time as any to talk about the ticket situation. So the Rangers, since they are hosting it, sold it in conjunction with MLB in groups of 4, which is really tough for a solo person to get a ticket unless they go together with a larger group, a group of 4, go figure. And I didn't have that group because I didn't really know anyone who was going to Game 4. And so I tried some back channel ways and got burned twice. Craigslist, Twitter, and the other usual suspects. I tried to be smart about it, tried to get some good information, tried to get some photos and stuff, but it was still a giant scam. So now I'm working with the banks and working with all that to recoup the money. sometimes you hate scalpers. Sometimes you hate that like tickets are $2,000 for a big event like this, and luckily that's not how much I spent or got burnt. And a lot of these tickets are going less than that because it's neutral site and just strange times. But you kind of grow up hating scalpers because a lot of times it limits what you can attend as a fan. But I would take scalpers 100% of the time over the scammers. Had never been scammed before, and feeling pretty small, feeling pretty beat, defeated, and really, really frustrated. I'm hoping things get resolved, but I feel privileged enough to be in a situation where it isn't going to end me. Times are tough. I also can't fully fault people for getting creative to make a buck, but to do it as just an outright scam, an outright lie, an outright not even offering fake tickets or worse tickets than what they said is just absolute disgusting. I've been really frustrated, really angry, really, like I said, down on myself, and really internalizing it a lot, and a lot of self-hatred towards that. But not only am I trying to give myself a little bit of a break and be easier on myself, I'm really, really working on trying to be compassionate to those that actually did that to me and to the other people that I've seen online that had the same thing happen. It doesn't mean that I just immediately think that it's okay what they did, or that they shouldn't face some sort of punishment or some sort of retribution, or that I shouldn't have some retribution or whatever. But it's fighting hate with hate, no matter what the cause, whether it's, obviously, without getting into making this political, but we see it with that, we see it with just a lot of things in life. So fighting that with the same thing just isn't working. So I'm not going to lose anything by being a better person, by being kind, by being compassionate, while still upholding people to their word. So I will step off that little soapbox. I'm still trying to process it, but I'm doing much better than last night, and that's why, again, we'll come back to Bobby. I was at a really low point, and for him to be so kind when I reached out to say, hey, I got face value tickets and an extra, it's yours, just pay me that. It means so much. I think when you start to be more compassionate and kind, like I was trying to do with myself and with others, like I said last night after I was processing it incorrectly, but trying to turn it around, that's kind of when that light, that Bobby the Savior came. It probably would have happened no matter what, but I think me being in a more compassionate and open place really allowed it to happen either quicker or just happen in a way that doesn't just make me happy, but hopefully makes Bobby happy, hopefully rectifies something that was torn and that was just generally not right with the universe that at least I occupy. So I guess that's some hippie talk about compassion and how to think about things mentally, but you know what? It's my podcast. I wish that there were some other people here right now, but you do what you got to do. I missed it by a couple games. Greg Barish was here, and I was tempted to go then. I should have, because he got to see the Rays in BP, which meant them using World Series balls, which means that it was way easier to get. And he did get on the board. I also, hey, Greg, if you're listening, you're welcome. That's right, I helped him get one of those Globe Life Field commemoratives too. So I want to also say to Chuck Morgan, you know him as the Rangers PA guy. He is amazing. He hooked me up when I came down back in September, so just early last month. And he also hooked up Greg because he said any friend of mine is a friend of his, so I can't believe it. Chuck, you're awesome too. So I think between Chuck and Bobby, it's really easy for me to see the world as scary and frustrating and bad when going through getting scammed, but Chuck and Bobby are the light that I need to focus on those things, and I need to also do what I can in order to be a light instead of a person who sucks up that light and makes things dark. So we're right back to the hippie place. There's really not much else to say. Just looking at Texas Live over here. Obviously the first one in line, because who's nuts enough to get to the ballpark at 1 something for a 7 o'clock game? But it's going to be special. I for the longest time have been saying no, I'm going to wait until the Twins make the World Series, but between Greg saying that it's probably my best shot at getting a World Series commemorative, and it being such a unique year and atmosphere and just set of circumstances that led us to this Frankenstein of a World Series, it's to say that I went to this one makes me feel good. If there was ever a World Series that I was going to go to that didn't have the Twins, I'm glad it was this one, because it's just so unique. You get to see 2 teams in a third city, so there's essentially 3 different baseball teams being represented, and then coming at it from outside of those 3 cities or geographical areas. I'm bringing whatever I bring from Minnesota to this whole party and this whole mix, and it's a hodgepodge that is just strange enough to be unique and to be something that I'm never going to forget. That's been 13 minutes of me rambling. I'm sure that there's going to be plenty after the game. There might be some that happens before it, who knows, but only the future can tell. I will leave it to future Tony to do that. But as a segue, I want to introduce a new segment to the show as a good bridge, because I just talked about future Tony. So this segment is going to be called Dear Future Self. Yeah. You like that music? Got a theme song written just for me, or not. Kiro Kiro Bonito. Check them out, because awesome band. That was a great song. But dear future self, dear future Tony, don't fall for those scams again. Do a much better job. Vet things out. But above all, if something happens, just like when your car blew up driving down to Chicago and you were left with a useless car and needed to rent one, and things felt like they were falling apart, things can fall apart without being detrimental, and it's rare that it's going to absolutely destroy you. And don't get so down on yourself for those mistakes that either you made or for those accidents that happened that you're involved with. So just instead of the scam thing, just be more kind. Be more kind to yourself, be more kind to others. It will all work out in the end, and the more kindness you can spread, the more kindness that you'll get. Peace out, hippie Tony, future Tony. Now on to the second part of the show.
Once again, welcome to the 2020 World Series at Globe Life Field. You are home. Welcome to Globe Life Field, home of the Texas Rangers. And welcome to the 2020 World Series between the American League champion Tampa Bay Rays and the National League champion Los Angeles Dodgers.
Holy shit. What a game. So much so that it's 6:11 in the morning the next day as I wait at the gates for my flight. But Game 4, 2020 World Series. If I didn't have allegiance or ties or whatever you want to call it to the Twins, this might be the best game that I ever attended. The 2009 Game 163 that the Twins beat the Tigers is still number one because there's, that's my team. This one didn't really have that because Rays or Dodgers doesn't really matter to me. But if the Rays end up coming back and winning the series, it's this pivotal, crazy back and forth game. 8-7. I was filming it and thinking that I was going to get Brett Phillips to either strike out or basically get out somehow, and just wanted to capture the final pitch. And boy, did I capture the final pitch. That turned into utter T-ball like comedy of errors. It was insane. I'm sure everyone knows by now, but good Lord, what a way for me to spend my first World Series, my first game at Globe Life Field, and my only game in 2020. I'm still trying to process it all. It didn't have your typical playoff atmosphere because, a quarter full, but it bordered between a standard game with peaks of high intensity, especially for what little people there were. It kind of seemed almost like a Rays game that was against a rival, and they only had their regular amount of fans show up. So it was like, and actually more so for the Dodgers because they had more people cheering, but the fans that were there were crazy, and especially towards the end of the game, it was back and forth, and it was high intensity, but it just felt so strange. It definitely didn't feel like what I expected a World Series to feel like, but that kind of goes without saying because this is not like that in any way. Ended the day with 6, which is great because BP was absolutely terrible. So much so that I didn't get any in BP. Had to hustle. Ended up getting one of those World Series commemoratives totally by chance because the Rays weren't even using them in their bullpen or anything like that. So luckily there was a couple Rays players that came out after BP and were talking to their family and had a bunch of balls that they were kind of throwing to the fans, and I got lucky. Absolutely lucky. I still don't know what happened. That was mayhem. And you can tell in my video because I am screaming and losing my voice, and good Lord, that was a baseball game. The messages were blowing up on my end, the people that knew that I was here, because they were losing their minds, and they were at home watching it. And I'm gonna go back to this too. Like, Bobby, thank you for allowing me to go in and see that amazing game. Yeah, that was 2020 right there. That, even though it was the only one, it's the top of the year. That's the best baseball game of the year, and I happen to be at it. Not just like the best baseball game that I could have attended or did attend in some weird way, but it was literally the best baseball game in all of 2020. So I don't know where they go from here. I don't know who's going to win. Obviously no one does. Well, you probably do if you're listening to this, because it'll be well in the future. So I'm going to go out on a limb and say congratulations. You guys are world champs. It's been a long time coming. That's it. I'm sleepy. I'm going to try to go get something to drink. So, signing off from Dallas-Fort Worth Airport. Have a great day, morning, evening, night, whatever it is. Just get some sleep.